Elijah McClain's death has always been a tragedy. Minutes ago, a second Colorado jury said it was also a crime that nearly went unpunished. Minutes ago, the jurors returned guilty verdicts against two Aurora Fire Rescue paramedics who injected that young man with ketamine while he was being held down by police in 2019, convicting them of criminally negligent homicide, a charge which carries up to 6 years in prison, the same charge on which a previous jury convicted one of 3 Aurora police officers involved in the incident. Here's the jury's verdict.
People of the state of Colorado v. Jeremy Cooper. The verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant Jeremy Cooper guilty of criminally negligent homicide. We, the jury, find the defendant Jeremy Cooper not guilty of assault in the second degree, intent to cause bodily injury causing serious bodily injury. We, the jury, find the defendant Jeremy Cooper not guilty of assault in the second degree, unlawful administration of drugs. We, the jury, find the defendant Peter Chikuniak guilty of criminally negligent homicide. We, the jury, find the defendant Peter Chikuniak not guilty of assault in the second degree, intent to cause bodily injury causing serious bodily injury. We, the jury, find the defendant Peter Chikuniak guilty of assault in the second degree, unlawful administration of drugs.
That was moments ago in a courtroom in Aurora. This is the final of 3 trials for the 2019 death of Elijah McClain. Up first was a police officer, 2 police officers together in a trial, then the 2 paramedics together in a trial. This was a case where they each blamed one another for Elijah's death. The paramedics saying it was the carotid hold that police put him in, holding him down to the ground as he begged for his life. And the police officers in their trial saying, no, it was the paramedics and their choice to inject him with an overdose of the sedative ketamine that killed him. And in the end, different juries found both one of the officers and both of the paramedics criminally responsible for Elijah's death. Prior to the verdict coming in tonight, Elijah's mother, Shanine McClain, who's been in the courtroom for much of the trial, issued a statement with her feelings. She wrote, "I am sure that if Elijah had been one of their children, family members, friends, or comrades, they would not have been so indifferent to what was happening like they were with my son. They cannot blame their job training for their indifference to evil or their participation in an evil act. That is completely on them." Shanine McClain concluded, "May all of their souls rot in hell when their time comes." This was a case that had faded from public attention, where local prosecutors had decided that first responders had done nothing wrong, criminally speaking at least. And then the 2020 social justice protests brought Elijah McClain's name and face back to the forefront, became a national headline. Colorado's Democratic Attorney General, Phil Weiser, had a state-level group take a look, and in came these charges, and in the end, convictions against 3 of the 5 defendants. Let's walk you through that. The Aurora police officers who originally stopped McClain. Somebody called 911, said he looked suspicious. It was summer, he was wearing a ski mask. Again, he had done nothing wrong that night. Randy Redeema, Jason Rosenblatt, Nathan Woodyard. In those cases, Redeema was found guilty of criminally negligent homicide, same charge as the paramedics were found guilty of tonight, as well as a charge of third-degree assault. He will be sentenced in January. And the other 2, Woodyard and Rosenblatt, were acquitted by the jury. And then tonight, the 2 on the right, Cooper, Chikuniak, convicted by the jury in Aurora. Our team is there at the courthouse. They are waiting to hear from Attorney General Weiser, who has spoken after each of the previous verdicts. We hope to hear from Elijah's mother, Shanine, as well, and we'll bring it to you here on Next. The Colorado Supreme Court justices who ruled that Donald Trump is ineligible to be on the ballot are now facing violent threats. A Republican candidate for Congress in Colorado says those judges should be arrested and tried for treason, which is punishable by death. Trent Lisey is also planning a rally in Douglas County alongside a conservative activist who has explicitly called for the mass execution of his political opponents. Lisey's trying to align himself as the most pro-Trump candidate running to replace Congressman Ken Buck. Elijah has identified the four quote-unquote traitor justices by name in messages to his supporters. He has called their decision this week treason and tyranny. Elijah says he'll hold a rally December 30th at a gun store owned by conservative activist Joe Oltmann, a man who has openly called for the killing of his political opponents, sometimes by name, sometimes more generally.
You are a traitor. So that's what I sent to Governor Polis. Gallows. I had to stretch that rope.
Oh boy.
And I want to send the media to the gallows, the mainstream media to the gallows, radical leftists to the gallows, traitors to our nation to the gallows.
Colorado's justices are currently facing what the nonprofit research group Advanced Democracy has called significant violent threats. That group tracked online postings after the justice ruled against Trump this week. A Republican district attorney in Colorado is standing up to conservative groups and elected officials who want him to prosecute librarians and school employees who won't ban books. El Paso County DA Michael Allen says bringing criminal charges over books and schools would be, quote, an unethical abuse of power. Conservative parents groups, some Republicans in the state legislature, and former gubernatorial candidate Heidi Ganahl all told DA Allen that he should look into criminal charges against school leaders and librarians. They have a list of hundreds of books that they want out. They say they violate obscenity laws. These groups failed in an attempt to have the El Paso County commissioners lean on the district attorney as well. District attorney says those books do not violate the law. DA Allen says that it is schools and libraries, not law enforcement, who should determine which books are appropriate. The Colorado Republican Party immediately attacked DA Allen today, called him a coward. They lost a loved one, and then a funeral home lost track of their loved one's remains. 150 of the 189 bodies found in a funeral home in southern Colorado have now been identified. FBI is working on the rest. One family told our Jaleesa Irizarry, not good enough.
So much has happened since October, since this funeral home in Penrose turned into a crime scene. Randy Adolph still struggles at the thought.
Well, like anybody, you want to throw up. You just can't believe something like that can be true. Mom's death would have been very near when they found all this out.
Randy's mom, Barbara Charles, died last May at 92 years old. He says he hired Return to Nature for her cremation.
Do I have it angled right?
He flew back to his home in Maui with what he thought were a box of her ashes. Then he heard about the bodies.
From what I hear, over 100? What's the numbers? Again, it's hard for us to get any information out here.
189 in total.
You're kidding me. Holy.
Shock isn't adequate enough to describe how Randy and so many others feel, but in so many ways, they're at a loss.
I'd like to know where my mom's body is, what's in this container that they gave to me and saying, it's her ashes, which is the most upsetting part.
Randy says he reached out to the Fremont County Coroner's Office in hopes of finding his mom, as well as a few other agencies. He says he hasn't heard back.
It's terrible that the agencies in charge and the people that should be going out of their way to let families know what's going on and keep us apprised haven't done that.
In an email to 9 News today, the FBI says they're still working on IDs and wouldn't say how many have not been identified. They encourage people to fill out a form online to figure out what to do next. It asks about the business done with Return to Nature and things like what their loved one was wearing when they died and if they were buried or cremated with anything. Questions Randy hopes may help answer a major one.
I'd like to know where Mom is. That's the hardest part of all this.
For justice.
That was Jaleesa Irizarry speaking. Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser now is speaking about tonight's guilty verdict for the paramedics in the Elijah McClain case.
Elijah McClain's memory will live on as a blessing. The work of this hard-working team put together a very strong case based on the evidence and the law against the paramedics. Indeed, the prosecution team in the 3 trials brought to light the evidence that occurred that dark night. The world, Elijah, and especially his mom, Janine McClain, deserve to have the full story told. That's what justice demanded. Elijah did nothing wrong. His life mattered. He should be with us here today. Accountability does not end with these trials. Too often when we've seen people die, at the hands of law enforcement officers because of situations that got escalated unnecessarily and never should have used force. That's a call on us to continue this work, for Elijah's memory to continue as a blessing. This work is core to what we do in our department, improving policing, improving emergency response, and working hard to build trust between law enforcement, first responders, and the community they're sworn to protect. We all must do what we can to prevent these tragedies. Thank you.
That was Attorney General Phil Weiser speaking after tonight's conviction of the paramedics who killed that woman's son, Elijah McClain, in 2019. If Shanine wants to step up or somebody else to the microphone, we'll listen in here again. Let's do that.
This story is Shanine McClain's story, and it's Elijah McClain's story. I can only represent an echo of her story and his story. But what I will say, when something happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. I watched as the prosecution delivered the truth about what happened to Elijah in 2019. The truth is now real, and it is available for the people. I heard every side of this say that Elijah should still be with us. Elijah still being here with his mother is justice. God made a promise to all of us when he made Elijah. This young man had a spirit that was sweeter than any of us can ever even try to be. Self-taught violinist, self-taught guitarist, and upon his murder, he was mastering the oboe. He was called to be a healer, so he went into massage therapy. And from what I understand, some of the Aurora police officers were actually some of his clients. He was called to be a healer. Randy Rodema, Jason Rosenblatt, Jeremy Cooper, Nathan Woodyard, Peter Chikuniak denied all of us the promise that God made to us when he made Elijah. They denied that promise to us. And the Attorney General said that the truth was told, this story was told, but there is a part of this story that we'll never know. We'll never know Elijah as the father. We'll never know Elijah as the husband. We don't get that story. So we are still seeking justice. The algorithm of justice are charges, arrest, conviction, and sentencing. Thankfully, in this case, the algorithm continues, but we do not know justice until we see sentencing. So Judge Warner, you now have a responsibility. We are still seeking justice. And as this truth was told to the people, you have a part of this story that now you have to finish. Will there be justice? Elijah is gone, but he is never forgotten. He has left a legacy for me, for you, for everyone. And for those that are not able to see that an injustice was done, my heart hurts for you, because an injustice was done. And if you are disrupted by the justice that has been now, that by the result of this trial, if you are disrupted by that, I will just say that I love you more than you hate yourself. Because a loss of life in this way should disrupt all of us. And as adamant as Shanine McClain is for justice for her son, you should share in that sentiment with her. You are invited to share in that sentiment with her. His name was and always will be Elijah McClain. We love you, Elijah McClain.
Ma'am, there were many supporters of the defendants outside the courtroom as you guys walked out and you held your fists up high. What did that mean?
That fist was not held for anyone except for Elijah. So that fist was representative that we love you, Elijah McClain. We see you, Elijah McClain. We will always and forever call the name Elijah McClain.
What a moment tonight in Aurora that Median Holmes, community advocate, friend, and supporter of the McClain family, they're embracing Shani McClain after she powerfully spoke about the legacy, the unwanted legacy of Elijah McClain, whose death has led to court-ordered reform in the Aurora Police Department, a consent decree, a settlement forcing that police department to change the way it does business, especially when it encounters people of color. While Median Holmes was speaking, Shani McClain was embraced by that man, Omar Montgomery. He led the NAACP in Aurora for years and years, a community advocate and leader as well. Not sure that Shani is going to make public comments. She has talked with us throughout this process in a series of conversations with our Alexander Lewis about her frustration that nothing that can happen at this point resembles justice or closure for her family. But you have to remember what she's been through. She lost her 19-year-old son, who had done absolutely nothing wrong, on the night that he was taken to the ground and held there by police, then injected with an overdose of a sedative. Then she was told that what happened to her son was sad but not a crime. And then she learned that, in fact, there would be trials for the people involved in her son's death. And tonight she learned that 3 of the 5 of them would become convicted men. 1 Aurora police officer, 2 Aurora fire rescue paramedics, all convicted of negligent homicide, a charge that carries up to 6 years in prison. A charge that could carry as little as 6 months, depending on where things go at sentencing. When we talk about the change that Elijah McClain and his death prompted in our community, it's not just the reforms within the Aurora Police Department, but it's the broader conversation about when deaths in custody are excused away with the term excited delirium. This idea that somebody is in a physical mix-up with police, in this case through no fault of his own, and then they die. That's one thing we heard from the defense in this case, as more and more medical experts that you've heard from in our reporting say that excited delirium might just be make-believe and a way to excuse police misconduct. We'll return with more of Next after this. These days, Denver is making an enormous effort to get people out of homelessness and into shelter. Can't forget about the other side of that coin. How do you keep families from becoming homeless in the first place? Tonight, we continue a special holiday effort to keep people home for the holidays. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports the nonprofit Growing Home as it works to keep families housed in the North Denver metro area. Growing Home offers rent and mortgage assistance to families that are facing eviction and foreclosure. A lot of organizations do that. That's the emergency check that keeps somebody in their home. But what they do that's special is they offer one-on-one coaching to understand why families have ended up in that situation. Why are they on the brink? Was it a lost job? Was it a sick child? Did their car break down so they can't get to work? Growing Home offers one-on-one support and counseling that's tailored to each family so they can find stability. They like to say they don't just give them a check and run. They walk with these families for the long haul to figure out how they can stabilize their housing situation and move forward in a way that provides a solid foundation. That's how you prevent homelessness in the first place. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. You can get that link to donate. You've proved that $5 helps week after week, so I always match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us started. And this is something that you all have asked for a long time, and we have just got it going for you. The Word of Thanks Fund a way to simplify your giving with a monthly donation. You put in your information once, and your monthly donation will automatically be split among the nonprofits that we feature each month. You use the same QR code or text link to get there to donate monthly. The need does not stop this time of year. There are people who get evicted at the holidays. Growing Home hears from 15 to 20 families a day who worry about becoming homeless, and this is our chance to help those at-risk families stay in their homes.
Finally, Friday, temperatures way above average again today, but it all changes over the Christmas holiday weekend with the arrival of not one, but two areas of low pressure. One coming in from the southwest initially, and that's where we're going to see some really heavy snow starting early tomorrow. Along the Front Range, temperatures still above average this afternoon. We are tracking that Christmas storm, which may bring light accumulation to Denver, and that would be Christmas Eve Sunday. We are watching as a separate area of low pressure is approaching from the northwest. Winter weather and travel advisories have already gone out for the high country, even without a lot of snow falling yet. The area in red is a winter storm warning for up to a foot of snow in areas like the San Juan Mountains. Lower elevations, I think, will stay dry tonight with an increase in high cloud cover, and then we go cloudy and cooler tomorrow with rain and snow showers that develop throughout the day and then really pick up into the evening. Light accumulation here in the city, but areas west and south could pick up 1 to 3 inches of snow right into Christmas morning. And so as you move about the area through the late afternoon and early evening time period, no issues today. Things change tomorrow. We'll look for a high of 50 tomorrow, 32 on Christmas Eve, 36 with sunshine for Christmas Day, and then a slow warming trend back to 40s with sunshine for Tuesday and Wednesday.
We have made a promise around here for the last 7 years, which is that no Friday is complete without something that will bring us joy, even on the most difficult days when we talk about the toughest topics. We're not going to break the promise today. Let's go out to the west side of town, where our Christmas tradition continues.
It's almost time.
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing that people can get together and come and find the joy of Christmas.
Thank you.
And also the joy of giving.
We'd really make a fool of ourselves, huh? Oh, great.
My good news is, whenever you give back, it comes back to you.
There goes. My good news is it's going to snow for Christmas, so that's going to make it even better.
This is our annual Christmas tree giveaway.
Thank you so much. Yay! It was really important. That's my son, and I just want him to have a great Christmas, and this just brightened up his face and made it all better.
My good news is that I gave someone my toys.
And it makes us feel better.
And it makes us feel better.
I thank God for my entire family. That's my good news.
We came for the tree, and if we didn't come here for the tree, we wouldn't have had one. And we usually get one down the street, but we just couldn't afford it this year.
Maybe today my good news is Tagawa's reaching out and saying that they have extra trees for us. I really love that we're in an industry that works together.
May God bless them throughout the years coming. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Moment of joy from Ectors and their neighbors there on the west side of town. Thank you for being with us here for Next today. Again, moments before the program started, a guilty verdict for the 2 Aurora Fire Rescue paramedics involved in the death of Elijah McClain in 2019. This ends the series of 3 trials as a result of that young man's death, which 2 juries have decided was in fact a crime. Elijah McClain's life and death changed this community, changed the world. He was 23.